Good evening, PA Figs here. So we're going to actually make a fresh fig galette today. It's actually a pastry with the fig mixture inside that's then baked. The nice thing about this is there's not a lot of sugar added to the pastry. A lot of butter, a lot of flour, but not a lot of sugar. The only sugar comes from the figs, and there's actually 4 tablespoons overall of sugar, but for a pastry that's really not a lot of sugar. So if you've got family that is maybe diabetic that can handle the fruit sugar but not natural sugar, or not the sugar that you get in a bag, it might be a good pastry for them. You know, consult your doctors. I'm not a doctor. Anyway, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 2 cups of flour to the food processor. 1. Here's 2. Okay. Next we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. 1. There's 2. Alright, we're going to put the food processor top on. Never get this right. I'm just going to pulse it. And I've got that backwards. What am I doing wrong? Alright, so it does help if you plug the food processor in. Alright, so we're going to pulse this together. One thing I forgot to add was actually the salt. You need to add a teaspoon of salt. Alright, teaspoon of salt. Now we're going to pulse this together. Oh, I hate this food processor. Alright, so that's pulsed together. Next we're going to add butter. Now it does take a lot of butter, so I hope you're not squeamish. It takes 11 tablespoons of butter. This is unsalted butter. And 11 tablespoons is 1 stick of butter plus 3 tablespoons from another. So let's see, this here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we don't need all of it, so I'm just going to mark it. And you want to cut these into about 1/4 inch. And when working with pastries, it's important not to warm your butter. Keep it in the fridge until you're ready to use it. Otherwise your pastry just won't come out right. You need cold butter when you're working with your pastry. Okay. Alright, there's the first 3 tablespoons. I'm going to blend this together. I really hate this food processor. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the 8 tablespoons from this stick, or whole stick, in. Again, you want to cut it into, I don't know, 1/4 inch pieces, little patties. Kind of like the ones you'd find in the diner if you went to a diner. I'll usually just put in 3 or 4 and then mix them together. And I'm not sure what varieties of figs I have to mix into this. I picked a whole bunch yesterday. And I like to use the either underripe figs or overripe figs for this. And the reason for that is once you cook them, they kind of melt down and it's not as necessary for them to be the right texture or exactly the right flavor, because you're going to mix a whole bunch in and they kind of offset each other. Alright, a little bit more butter. Now this is a very buttery pastry. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a croissant. Okay, butter's mixed in. Next, we are going to do a 1/4 cup of shortening. And my wife taught me this trick. The way you do the shortening is you actually fill a measuring cup up to about a 1/4 cup with water, and then you add the vegetable shortening until it gets up to a 1/2 cup. And that way you know you have a 1/4 cup in volume of the vegetable shortening. So let me go ahead and get some water and I'll pause the video. Alright, so if you can see here, I've got a 1/4 cup of water, and now I'm going to add the shortening to it. I want to add the shortening until this measuring cup reads 1/2 cup. Make sure the shortening is all in the water when you're adding it. If it's resting on top of each other, you're going to lose the purpose, or if it's resting on the side of the measuring cup, you're going to lose the purpose. A little bit more. A little more. Alright, so that's about a 1/2 cup. Now, you need to actually drain this shortening. Really, I should have pressed that down, but it's okay. So let's see. I'm going to drain the water out of the shortening. And now all I've got is the shortening to add to my mixture. Go ahead and add that in. Really should have pulsed that in, but I don't know. I'm kind of lazy tonight. Alright, so now you're going to pulse this mixture until it forms small balls. You don't want it to form the actual dough. You want it to actually just form sort of little granular balls. And you can see it's starting to get there. So I want to stop now before it gets too much. Okay, and earlier I took some water and I put some ice in it to make it cold. I'm going to mix this in to form a cohesive pastry mix there. You don't want too much water, and the water has to be very cold. Again, you want to always keep your pastry cold. So I'm just going to actually mix this in using the teaspoon measure. You know, very little bit of water just until it gets to the right consistency to where it forms a ball in here. So with it running, the food processor refuses to lock. There we go. Alright, so with it running, add a little bit of water. You see, that's actually forming a pretty good ball there. So I think we're pretty well done. Now I'm going to get a layer of tin foil ready, and I'm going to put this out onto the tin foil. Alright, so I've got my tin foil. Now I just need to get my pastry dough out. A little flour on my hands. It also helps if you run your hands under cold water for a while. The pastry won't warm up and stick to them as easily. Alright, so there's my pastry. Now all I'm going to do is form a disc out of this, or a ball, with a flattened ball, if you will. Okay. Now I'm going to close the tin foil over it. Alright, and I'm going to put this in the fridge for at least an hour to chill, and I'll be back. Okay, so the next step in the fig galettes is to cut up the figs. And you can see we've got quite a few here. And actually, I'm going to ask my wife to get the oven preheating. The oven needs to be at 400 degrees to start. So, Teresa, can you get it to 400 degrees, please?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So the figs. There's no set number of figs you have to have. I have a lot of figs tonight. Some days I have not as many. It just basically makes more or less filling for your galette. So it's personal preference and whatever you'd like. So last time what I did is I actually cut these figs into quarters like this. And in this case, it's actually better to have figs that are a little bit less ripe, and that way they keep their shape a little bit when you cut through them. So I did quarters last time. It came out pretty good. I'm almost thinking that it might be a little bit too big, but I don't know. Why mess with a good thing? It came out delicious last time, so I just need to go through and cut these up. So the last one, I believe, was a Soda Sicilian. This, I believe, is a Sal's G. Just all different types of figs that are going to go into this. I'd like to make one day with all black figs, but I don't know. I might have enough here to do that if I wanted to, but I don't know. I'm kind of in a rush tonight. 2 glasses of wine down, and it's getting late, so I want to get this all done. But let me cut these up. I don't know if you really want to sit here and watch. This is Angelo's Dark. Been one of my best figs so far this year. It's been just absolutely delicious. It's like a Chicago Hardy with more ripening, larger figs. It's like a Chicago Hardy on steroids. It's been a great fig. Let me see if I have another one here someplace. I think this is one. You can see the cracking on it. It's just beautiful. And then the inside is just gorgeous. It's a real nice fig, real good flavor. So, alright, let me go cut these up. No need for you guys to watch all of this. I'll be back. Alright, so I've got the figs cut up. Time for the next step. So there's 2 parts now. The first part is going to be getting the fig mixture for the filling of the galette done, which is basically just tossing the figs that are chopped up in a mixture of flour and sugar. Then I also need to get the pastry ready and put that into roll it out into like a pie. You put the figs in the fig mixture in the center, and then you kind of fold the sides up onto it. So let me go ahead and get this going. Okay, so what I've got here now is a bowl with 3 tablespoons of flour and 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm going to take this 3 tablespoons of flour and 2 tablespoons of sugar, and I'm going to take some of these figs and I'm going to toss them in here. And what I want to do is I want to coat these figs in this mixture. So let's get enough for 1 batch of fig galettes that I'm going to make. They say about 2 pounds should do it. I don't know. However much you like, really, is what it comes down to. Okay, so I've got these figs in here, and now I'm literally just going to mix them up to try to coat them all. And all you're doing is making a pie filling, really. You know, that's probably a simple way to look at it, is you're making a pie filling. So I'm going to get these all mixed up. Get the flour over as much of it as possible, the sugar mixed in. You know, and once you do this a couple times, you can certainly add sugar and flour to match your needs. But there's what we end up with. This will be the mixture that goes in the center. Some people choose to remove the skins off the figs. I don't mind them, so I leave them on. But alright, let me put this aside. And next we are going to work on the pastry. Okay, I almost forgot. I have to make the... Alright, I almost forgot. I have to make my egg wash. So, in a bowl, I've got a little bit of milk, maybe a tablespoon if that. And then I need to separate the egg yolk from the egg white, because all I want is the yolk. So I've got my little separator here. Get all that egg white out of there. We want just the good stuff, just the yolk. Alright. That yolk goes in with the milk. These are farm fresh eggs that I got at the farmer's market. You can tell how nice and rich the yolk is. And all I'm going to do is mix that with the milk. And that is going to be my egg wash, which will give us that nice golden color on the pastry. The more milk you use, or water, some people use water, the less dark the pastry will be. So it's really to your personal preference. Okay, time for the pastry. So this is the pastry we did earlier. And remember, you don't want to handle the pastry too much. Pastry, you want to have it stay cold. If it gets warm, it's not going to come out as good. Now, if you want to be a perfectionist, you should really use a rolling pin to roll this out. I am going to do my best to just use my fingers. We'll see how that works out. I may end up pausing and getting a rolling pin or a wine bottle or something along those lines. So, the goal here is to form it into... Okay, that's hard as a rock, so I'm probably going to need a rolling pin. Or I'm going to just make a mess of it. But you can see you can do it by hand. That's the lazy way to do it. I tend to be lazy a lot. Doesn't get you as even of a as a pastry, but I mean, really, you're going to devour the thing. Who cares? But if you want to be a true pastry chef, then a rolling pin is the way to do it. So let me get something to roll this out with. Alright, so in a perfect world, I wouldn't have this on the cookie sheet. This is a buttered cookie sheet, by the way. Make sure you butter it. I'd have it on a rolling mat or something to roll it out with and then transfer it to the cookie sheet. But let me just roll this out quick. If you were making just one, and again, you should flour your... I'm getting lazy here. One second. Let me flour my rolling pin. Alright, I'm back. I've floured my rolling pin. Don't be a lazy baker. Do things the right way. I'm going to roll this out. If you were making just one, you would actually make this about 14 inches wide in hopes of having about a 10-inch galette, maybe less depending on how much you go over top, how much you lay over the sides. I'm actually going to try to make this into two and see what happens. You can see my pastry, especially as it warms up, is going to start sticking to this. That is why I should have rolled it out earlier on something different, but oh well. So, yeah, I was hoping to make two. I don't know if that's going to happen. So always make one big one and cut it in half. Alright, so this isn't the most perfect pie I've made, but I'm trying to do something quick here in order to show the video. Don't worry too much about your edges. You're going to fold it up. You can correct it at that point. Alright, so here's your fig galette. I really should have put this on another sheet. You can see it's sticking to the cookie sheet. But you're going to take your filling and put it right in the center here like this. And again, it's up to you as to how much you want to use and how much overlap you want to have on the sides. Some people like more fruit to be showing. Some people like less. The pastry is pretty rich, so don't be afraid to not have too much showing or not to have too much pastry covering the top, because these figs are indeed very rich. And again, I should have rolled this out on something different. It's warmed up now, and you can see I'm having trouble actually getting it up, so that's what she said. Anyway, I'm just going to do my best to form this here. You can see my my pastry is already warming up and starting to form. This is why you roll it out on a separate sheet before you put it on the cookie dough, or the cookie sheet. But I'm going to make the best of this. I assure you it will still come out delicious. And you can see I'm not going to cover the top very much on this one. I'm actually going to leave it pretty open. Alright. This was a miserable display of the right way to do baking. But I'm tired. I had a lot of wine. And this is what you're getting. So, alright. So now, we're going to actually put this into the oven at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, we're going to reduce it to 350 Fahrenheit, and we're going to cook it for probably another 30 minutes or until the crust is nicely golden. Oh, speaking of golden, I forgot about my egg wash. Alright, so this is where your egg wash comes in. You want to put it all over your pastry. And that's what's going to give you that nice brown pastry that you see when you go to the bakery. If you don't use this, your pastry is just going to come out kind of tan, kind of like the dough is, the same sort of color. And, I don't know, it just doesn't look as nice. This will give it that nice finish where you can actually see it brown, and it just looks a lot nicer. I don't think it really adds much to flavor. I don't think it adds anything to the texture. It is purely an aesthetic touch that it makes your pastry look finished. No need to put it on top of the figs. It's not going to do anything there. You just want to make sure you get your pastry nice and coated. Alright, I'm going to pop this in the oven and I'll show you when it's done. Alright, here is our finished product. This is after 15 minutes at 400 and 30 minutes at 350. And you can see it looks beautiful. You can see the egg wash gave my pastry that nice brown golden look to it. There's the big one I made, and then I also made some smaller ones like this, and you can see they just look absolutely beautiful. I'm not going to eat any tonight because we are going to share them with friends and coworkers tomorrow. I might have to have a little bit for breakfast tomorrow, but it came out real nice, so I'm excited. Try this at home. It's a real easy recipe, and as long as you've got some fresh figs, it makes a real scrumptious meal. Alright, and once you try it, post in the comments below. Let me know how you like it. This is PA figs, and these are fresh fig galettes.